Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Barcelona. Barcelona is a 1 to 4 player game, and it's published by Board and Dice. Board and Dice you'll know mainly from their T-lines of games, of which my favorite is still Teotihuacan. I can't say that correctly, but I really love that game. So I don't know if they're going with a new letter. Now they're going to be known for B games or not, but this is Barcelona by the same people. In Barcelona, you're going to be trying to build up the new expansion of Barcelona, which was called Exemplar, I can't say that right, or Example area. And you're going to try to be the most influential architect in that area and score the most points. And the person who does that will win the game. Let's go ahead down to the table here. I'll give you a general idea how the game flows, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is Barcelona. Now, I'm not going to show you this solo version of this game, and I'm not really going to go over a lot of the rules for this game. I'm just going to give you a general idea of the flow of the game and what you can do in it. Now, Barcelona is played over a variable number of rounds. This is going to be interpreted by the 3 scoring phases. Once we finish this 3rd scoring phase, the game will end and we'll go into the final scoring. Each round, each player takes a single turn consisting of 2 or more actions, a build phase, and then a preparation for their next turn. At the end of the game, the player with the most victory points will be the winner. Now, to start the game here, we're going to set up all these pieces. Lots of setup on this game. This is a big setup game. However, the gameplay for this is pretty straightforward once you get the general idea of what's happening. You're going to do a couple things here each round, other than everyone taking their turn. On your turn, you're going to have these 2 citizens. So I would have pulled them from the bag and I would have placed them face down. I know what they are. No one else knows what they are. And these citizens are important because they're going to be what you're going to use to build these different sections here, among other things in the game. The first thing you're going to do, though, is you're going to pick an intersection here, one of these locations here, to place your citizens. And you can put one on top of the other, or whichever way you want to do it. You're going to probably look at what you want to do with these people for building potentially, but also the big thing you're looking for is what actions you want to take. So if I place my citizens here, I'll be able to take this action and this action. If I place my citizen here, I'm going to have to pay a coin. And I could take this action, and the diagonal trolley action. And the trolley action's interesting because you're going to be able to place these people out and gain more and more points as time goes by with that trolley. But we'll go over that in a second. So, do I want to go here and place out one of my intersections? If I place out one of my intersections, I could end up gaining more income throughout the game, or money through the game. And then I could also get one of these scoring cards. There's a lot of different decisions on where you're going to place this worker. And then wherever you place it, you will be doing those actions. So what actions are there on this board? Well, some are pretty simple. Here you're going to move up 2 on the Serta track, and the Serta track is extremely important for scoring when each of these regions hit. I'll show you how that happens in a minute here. This one here, you'll be able to place down a narrow street. Here you'll be able to place down a wide street. Here you'll be able to get rid of one of your cobblestones. But let's go over what it means to do some of these. Let's say you want to place your cobblestone. So this one here, you would actually take it off your board here, which is going to give you more spaces for goods. There's only 2 types of goods in the game. There's cloth and money, but your amount you can hold is limited to the amount of spaces available. Placing out a cobblestone makes more places available. In addition to that, when you place your cobblestone down, you're also going to need to place it to adjacent to an existing cobblestone, but you get that bonus. So if I place it here, I'm going to go up the Serta track here, and that will allow me to gain potentially up to the 2 times here, if I keep moving up that track, to gain me more points on each of these different 3 scoring phases. So that one's one of the really simple actions in here. Another simple action on here is I just gain a cloth and 3 points. Here I gain 2 coins. Let's go into what these two here are. Build narrow, build wide streets here. You could build one wide street or a narrow street by taking one of those two actions here. You can build 2 narrow streets with this one. Narrow streets and wide streets are pretty interested for a couple different reasons. When you place them down, they help with your trolley, moving your trolley across. There are free spots so your trolley can move faster across the board with them. But also they're going to give you points. So if I was, say, I went here, I can place out 2 roads here. If I place out the 2 roads, I can place them anywhere I want. If I place one here, so I place the first one here, I'm going to get 1 point. So I'll go 1 point up the track. I place the second one here, I'm going to get the coin that's labeled on here, but I'm going to get 2 points because there's 2 in the row here, so I'll get 2 points. Color doesn't matter. So if your opponent had one here, and I placed my next one here, I would get 1, 2, 3 points. It doesn't matter, there's a space in between. And that's how placing these roads work. The wide roads work similarly, except for they are going to gain you 2 points each, which is really nice. If you ever finish one of these stacks, you're going to get the bonus underneath. In this case, I'll move up the starter track when I finish this stack. And that's building the wide and skinny roads. Things we can do, we can go more into building here. So I can build an intersection. If I build an intersection, that's going to come off my board. The first one here is not going to cost me anything, but the next one here is going to cost me 1 money, 2 money, a cloth and a money, and a cloth and a money. This one here I can just place out, and when I place it out, if I place it in an intersection that costs money, I have to pay for it. Otherwise, like let's say I put it here. Now everything that's uncovered around it, I will gain that resource for a road. So I would gain 2 money for doing that. If they were covered, I wouldn't get anything. But there's also some neat benefits that you get from placing down an intersection, other than the resources they got from there. Every time another player places one of their citizens on there, I will gain the benefit that is shown. In this case, I'll gain a coin, but later on I can gain 2 points, gain a cloth, move up the starter track, or get one of those cathedral pieces right there, which is the Sagrada pieces, which will help me out later in the game. We'll go over those in a minute, but basically that's going to be building your intersections in a nutshell. Another action you can do on this board here is take one of the Modernisma tiles, and that's going to be these tiles on here, and these are going to get you endgame scoring. So if I take one of these, I can place it out, and anywhere that I place on here, if it's free for the first one, this one's going to cost me money, that one's going to cost me cloth, this one's going to cost me a money and cloth, and this is going to cost me money and 2 cloth. So if I place it here, this one here is going to be free. But the other ones will cost me money, and these are end game scoring things, so they're really, really important for a lot of try to get a lot of points at the end of the game. You could also build a public service. So if you build the public services, you're going to spend the number of coins depicted on the top. Now these will actually go down in cost as people buy them, but they're going to go down in value there. So if you're going to, and that's this picture right here, by the way. So if I build that as the action, then this one here is going to cost me, focus. Come on, 3 money. It's going to get 10 points, and it's going to move me up twice on the starter track. Some other ones here, like this one here, will give me 2 of the Sagrada tiles, which is really cool. This one will let me move my train forward without a cost, which is really cool. So that's the public service buildings. The other thing you can do is move your tram. So your tram is this little guy right here. If you do this action, which is going to have this little picture of the tram on it, so that's going to be this action here for the diagonal. If this is the first time you ever get to do it, you get to place it anywhere else on the board you want. And there's a couple cool things you can do it. You can place or move your tram around the city section. So the first time I get to place my tram. So I place my tram somewhere out there. So moving your tram around the city sections. So for the first time you move your tram, take it from the player board and place it on the street space in the city with no tram or no passengers on it. It does not matter whether the street tile has been built on it, so there could be street tiles on there or not. Every other time you take this action, so in the future I get to place it down there for the first time. Every other time I take this action, you must move your tram from its current position. When you do so, you may move it 1 or 2 spaces away. Now, remember where I said that these are really cool? If I had this out here, this is a free space, so I can move it, but it doesn't count. So I can do still 2 more. So I can move it all the way up here if I wanted to, if that was in there. Otherwise, I could, if this wasn't here, the farthest I could go would be here. All right. After moving your tram or placing it, if there is no passengers on the street space tile, you may, and you're not required to, place a passenger on the same street as your tram. To place a passenger, take the leftmost passenger from your player board and pay the cost in coins or cloth, and then place them on the street containing your tram. Finally, you'll make the action associated with the street on which you placed your passenger. So when we're placing these out, so I have these right here for my tram. I'm gonna have to, if I want to do this one, it's gonna be -1 money. So I have to do -1 money. This is the first one, and I'll get 1 point at the end of the game. I'll place this guy down here. If this was a coin, I would have got a coin. Otherwise, I just place them down. And as we go by, this gets higher. So that's 5 points. This is 10 points. This is 16 points, and that's 23 points. So that's the advantage of moving that tram around the board to get more points. Now, what's really cool, I'll just throw out real quick before we finish with the other things you can do here, is that this booklet, if you go through the rule book here, has like historic notes on everything in the book and why, or everything in the rules and why it's there, to give you like historical context of Barcelona, which I thought was really cool. So after you, and you're got this really cool sheet here, after you've finished placing your citizen and doing all the actions you want, then you can construct a building, and you have to do this if possible. So basically you're going to look at where the citizens are at on the board, and you're going to look at these 4 different types of buildings and their requirements. So this level 1 building here, just any 2 citizens, that's good. This one here requires middle class, I think that's the middle class, but the pink one, and any citizen. And this one here is going to require the upper class one and any 2 citizens. And these little sections here have to be built there on either side, and these are just going to require 2 citizens. So what do you do? Well, right now on the first turn it's completely impossible because I just placed one, and you need 2 different citizens that you can take from. But on future turns there's going to be more of these guys out there. So, and the other thing really cool about this is that as time goes by, these actually block up action spaces, but as you build buildings, they're going to open up that action space again. So that's another very important thing about building these buildings. So with this setup here, with these 3 here, I could build any of these 3 that I want. Now you can always build over top of a lower level. So it's level 1, level 2, level 3. I can always build a level 2 over a level 1. I can always build a level 3 over a 2 or a 1. I can select to build a level 3 without anything there. So that's how those work. And these ones here can never be built over. So if I wanted to build in that middle square, now if you build these, don't forget when you build these, you're going to flip them over. You don't get a benefit, but you will get to place one of these discs on here. And as these discs disappear, you do get benefits, which is really cool. So this one here, if I wanted to place it, I could remove any of the 2 top citizens there and put them back in the bag that will be drawn for each player. And this one will move me up 1 on the Serta track, because this is what Serta wanted to have built. Now if I wanted to do this, I'd have to take away one of the pink citizens and any other citizen I wanted. I would get one of the Sagrada tiles, which these Sagrada tiles can give you a lot of points and a lot of stuff at the end of the game. So these are really cool. But I would go down on the starter track, which is used for scoring. This one here, I would need to do 2 of any type of citizens and one of the purple citizens, which I have one right there, the upper class one. I would get 2, get the Socrata tile here, and then I would also gain 7 points, and I would go down 2 on the starter track. Now, to clarify one part of this, is I keep saying you get these Socrata tiles, but really what happens is you're going to move up this Socrata track on the top of your board. So when I cross that section, I can get a level 1 Socrata tile. I'll get the bonuses here. Once I do this, so +2, 1, 2, I can get a level 2, and I would get the bonuses. If I got 2 more here, I could get the level 3 in here, and then finally if I do this last one I can get the level 4. Just to clarify on how that actually works, because I keep saying it and it seems like I'm saying something different, but because you're actually moving up these tracks, and that's how you get these tiles, and that's how they go out. So just to clarify that, because I think I was wording that wrong. All right, so back to building those buildings. So, like I said, you could have built this one, go up 2 on the starter track, you get 7 points, or Socrata track, you get 7 points, and you go down 2 on the starter track. But instead, I just want to go up 1 on the starter track, so I'll go up 1 on the starter track, and I'll build this tile here. When I build this tile here, I'll take 2 of these citizens, and these citizens will go down here on here. So I place this one here, and I place this one here. In addition to this, I will get points equal to the lowest uncovered spot. So this will be 2. So I'll gain 2 points. Then I can flip this building over. And as you notice, those stacks are down to 1 each. So that reduces it even further for me, which is really cool. Is getting closer to being able to redo that action spot. All right, so to round this all out, you're going to check to see if you have filled up any of these tracks here, and if not, you're going to just, in either way, you're going to draw 2 citizens and put them here. Now, when these tracks fill up, it doesn't matter which track fills up, it's going to trigger the scoring here. So you're going to take a look at each of these scoring tiles, and they'll be unique and where you're at on the starter track. And whether you're on positive or negative here, you're going to multiply the number that's on the starter track by how many times you can score for that objective. Everyone will get their scores. Once that happens, they'll flip it over. Now, when we fill this track, so I'm just going to put a whole bunch of stuff on here. So when we fill this track, wow, this is filling pretty evenly. Any new ones for the next scoring thing will only carry over if they're the ones. So let's, come on, where's another green? Okay, so this would have triggered the scoring. Now, when I look to go, this next track won't start filling. So if I get a red, it'll go over here. I get another red, another green, it'll go over here. You know, the purple will still be over here, and this is still used for your base scoring for those tiles. Once this fills, we're going to score for this. Once we do score, everyone's Surtur level resets for the next scoring phase, and then you'll have to move it up and down the Surtur track again. This will score, same thing will happen, and then this will score, and then we'll have end game scoring. End game scoring, after you finally resolve this part for the scoring for that, is pretty straightforward. You're going to look at your cobblestone, see how many of you haven't covered that. You're going to gain points for that. You're going to see how many passenger placed out here, so you're going to gain points according to that. And then you're going to evaluate each of your modernism tiles. Now, one of the things spaces I think I skipped over was this one here. If you go to that space, you can upgrade your modernism tiles. Some of them have costs. This was 1 cloth. This one's free. This one's 2 cloth. This is 1 cloth. And that's 2 cloth. If you move them up, that's going to be multiplicative of how many times this is going to score. So this last one here could be super valuable because you can score that modernism tile if you have one on there 4 times. Now, when you're placing these tiles, modernism tiles, the other thing is you can place them anywhere you want on here. They don't have to be in a specific order, but you do have to pay the goods on there. So maybe I did want to do that way. and score. So you add up that score, and the person with the most victory points at the end of the game is the winner. If there's a tie, the furthest on the Serta track wins. Furthest on the Sagrada Familia track, which is going to be this one here, is the next tiebreaker. And the most building markers on the main board is the final tiebreaker. If they're still tied, the tied players win together. Now, this wasn't all the rules to Barcelona, but this gives you a general idea how the game plays and the flow. It's a pretty straightforward game. You're basically using the 2 citizens that you get each round as a worker placement that you're going to place on the board to have specific actions available, and you'll take those actions. One thing I did skip over is when you're the first person to build in a row, you get the 5-point tile and you flip it over. So that's another way that you get points in this game. But basically, you'll be placing it out to take up to 2 to 3 actions. Then you're going to construct a building if you can, check to see if scoring is going to happen, and just rinse and repeat. So the game itself is pretty straightforward, but there's a lot of different ways that you can score. So let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on Barcelona. All right, so that was Barcelona, and that was just a quick flow of the game, just so you get an idea how the game plays. And we'll just jump right into components. Component quality of this game is great. It's going to be the same high quality that you get in any of the board and dice line games. And the art is also great because it matches the period, and everything works art-wise for the game. Everything's in the same style. All that stuff's great. Iconography for this game is amazing. It's very intuitive. Once you just get those actions down, the game flows really quickly. All the iconography repeats, and it is very clear in there. So I really do appreciate that. Gameplay is a lot of fun. For this game, it's actually pretty easy to teach, as you saw on there. I didn't do all the rules, but I just gave you the general idea, and from there I would extrapolate a little bit more on some of those things. But it's really mechanical. But the cool thing about the game is there's a lot of different strategies that you can pick throughout the game that actually work. So you don't necessarily need to go and care too much about building. You could care more about going up the Sagrada track instead, or you can care a lot about building and try to capitalize on that and try to plan when the different scoring segments go off and make sure you're super high on the Serta track, and all sorts of different ways and avenues that you can gain points in this game. So sort of like the idea of a point salad game. There's a lot of different ways of getting points, and with that it does create a lot of strategies that are valid in this game, and there's a lot of different ways you can pivot in this game too, which I really appreciate. The Modernismo tiles are really important. Those ones, you're going to want to try to get the ones that go best with your strategy so you can maximize your points. You're going to be really strategic on where you place them because you might want that 4 times. But one of the ones that will give you some point, we don't care as much about, you maybe go in there and do the 1 times and maybe upgrade it to 2. Stuff like that. So there's a lot of things to decide in this game, and there's a lot of different things that you can do. So I do appreciate that a lot. Gameplay, like I said, is pretty fluid, and as the rounds go by, you can watch to see what strategies other players are doing, and maybe you'll throw a little monkey in the wrench and maybe take something like one of the Modernismo tiles, or you'll take the space that gives them the action that they wanted to take, probably, and that's a good bit of player interaction in this game. A lot of it actually comes down to when you're building the tiles, which is a mandatory action if you can, freeing up those spaces. So if you have multiple choices, you may not actually want to put down in the best area, because that'll free up the spaces, and your opponents can place their citizens in that space and get those really cool actions that you might be looking for. Maybe you want to rig it so the next player has to open them up for you or whatnot. So a lot of really cool things that are happening in this game. If you and now in essence, this is a worker placement game because you're putting those 2 citizens down, but if you consider them as a worker, it's going to be worker placement. You do the actions. So if you like that type of game and you want some cool layers on top of it to add some uniqueness, Barcelona is definitely going to be the game for you. So that's where I think it would fit. For me, I really like this game. I think it's going to get to the table fairly often, so I'm super excited about that. And I have a lot of friends I think are going to really like this game also. So that's my thoughts on Barcelona. Thank you for watching.